Hello lovely people and welcome back to my channel. My Sonia G Keyaki brush set just arrived in the mail yesterday. I've already washed the brushes, they're ready to go and I cannot wait to test them out together with you. Now this is Sonia's latest installment in her brush line, and what makes this line very interesting is that these 5 brushes, this whole brush set, is meant to be a travel set due to the... It's very hard to hold all these brushes together, and you can hear my son screaming nay in the background because that's his favorite word. What makes this set very interesting is that these brushes are meant to be travel friendly, which is why they also come in a shorter handle size. As you can see here, demonstrated by my normal Sonia G brush versus one of the new brushes. What I personally found completely irresistible about this brush set is the absolutely stunning wooden handle that this brush has. Just the whole aesthetic of this brush is so appealing to me. Apparently, from what I understand, these are made from Japanese Keyaki wood, which is a very precious type of wood. I personally don't want to go into the details of each individual brush and tell you a lot about the whole story with this brush set, because I am not that knowledgeable when it comes to artisan brushes. I think it's best if you just go and read Sonia's blog, which I'm going to leave linked in the description box below for you. I also think Michi from Michi's Makeup did a fantastic job introducing this brush set, the whole concept behind it, and like she did such an amazing job introducing the brush set and giving it more context. So I highly recommend watching her video, which I can also leave in the description box below for you if you would like to get more info on the brush set itself. Now personally, I'm more interested in the practical side of things. I want to test the brushes and see how they perform. So without further ado, one more thing, we're going to be doing a Christmas look, and for this Christmas look I have chosen to feature products that didn't necessarily make it into my absolute favorite list, but they're still products that I have really enjoyed over the course of the year. I'm not really wearing anything besides my skincare, so let's just get into it, because otherwise this video is going to be 100 years long and I have to edit it on my ancient MacBook, because my own MacBook broke and I just received the wonderful news that what is wrong with it is the motherboard, and it will cost me a modest 500 euros to fix it. Anywho, the first product I'm going to go in is my MAC Stroke Cream. I want to apply this especially underneath my eyes, because I think my eyes can always use a little bit more brightening. Now, normally this is a product that I would just work in with my fingers, and like just apply it here, take it underneath my eyes, and also blend it into my cheekbones. But for today I'm actually going to be trying the mini base brush from Sonia G's Keyaki brush set, because what's interesting about this brush is you can use this brush with cream products, because it is a combination of natural hair and synthetic hair. So I'm just going to... oh, this is very soft. So I'm just going to blend this out like this underneath my eyes, and also take it the slightest bit here onto my cheekbones, because I want those highlighted anyway. Next I'm going to go in with my concealer. I'm going to use my Clarins Instant Concealer, which is one of the few concealers that my under eyes don't seem to hate with a passion. So I'm going to take this and just dot it underneath my eyes. And I also like to apply my concealer here underneath my brows, mostly to cover up, you know, the little bumps that I might have from just plucking my eyebrows. Now again, usually I would just be using my sponge for this, but today I'm going to blend this out with Sonia's brush, because we want to test out how versatile this brush is. Well, this is incredibly soft, and not to anyone's surprise, it's actually blending out the product wonderfully without leaving my skin looking dry or, you know, blending the product away. So far, so good. Now the most interesting part will be the foundation, because I am a firm believer in applying my foundation with a sponge. I don't believe in brushes, and it's not that I don't believe in brushes. I see brushes working on other people, they just never seem to work for me, because whenever I apply foundation with a brush, my skin always starts to look incredibly dry. But I wanted to give Sonia the benefit of the doubt, so what we are going to do is apply my brows off camera first and then come back and do the foundation. Let's see how that's gonna go. I'm not going to put too much because I never really use too much foundation anyway, and I'm going to try to buff this out using Sonia's brush If necessary, apply a bit more. I kind of forgot my nose, so let's just apply a little bit there too. Oh, can I be honest with you? This is actually really pleasant and it's blending out the foundation beautifully. Okay, Sonia, I hear you. This looks really beautiful and really natural. I was going to apply the rest of my face with the sponge, but fuck the sponge. I'm just going to use the brush from Sonia because it did a fabulous job. Just so fucking soft. Is this something I would do on the regular? Probably not, because it's taking a little bit longer than it would with the sponge. But I do really love the finish of the foundation this way. The next brush I want to test out is the Classic Face, which we're going to use to dust a little bit of powder on my face. And the product I want to use for that is the Hourglass Dim Light. What are these called again? The Ambient Lighting Powders. I haven't mentioned this product in my favorites for one simple reason. I'm trying to get through Mood Light and I'm trying to get through that stupid loose Pat McGrath powder, which is the reason I haven't really used this powder much, and that is the only reason it didn't end up in my favorites. I do think this is a better color match for me than Mood Light, and I do have really enjoyed this powder the few times that I have used it. So let's just do a bit of strategic dusting over here, in particular around my nose. Here on my cheeks if I need some extra blurring. And I'm actually not going to take it too much on like my cheek area because I want this to remain glowy. I don't feel like I need extra setting there. I don't really have a bronzer that I was a bit more meh about this year, so I'm going to bust out one of my favorite bronzers, which is the Milk Makeup Bronzer in the shade Baked. And once again I'm going to go with that mini base from Sonia G. I'm going to take the product a little bit like this on my brush and just start buffing it here where I would normally put bronzer, which is a little bit under my cheekbone, and then just blending it upwards towards my temples. Oh, this brush, I am completely head over heels in love with this brush already. Has it even been 5 minutes? Okay, no, it's been a little bit longer. 10 minutes is how long it took for me to fall in love with this brush. Wow. You can bet I'm going to be using this brush every single day from now on. And if this is how Sonia G's base brushes feel like, now I want a fucking full size. Fuck me, what a gorgeous brush. It just makes everything look so natural and beautiful on the skin. It doesn't drag on anything, it doesn't like lift up any skin that I didn't even know I had. It's just my new love. Now the next product I want to use is this mini blush here that I have also from Milk Makeup. This is in the shade Work, and the only reason I didn't feature this as one of my favorites throughout the year is because of the shade. This is just not my absolute favorite kind of shade. If this was a burnt orange or something that's more like a nudie pink, it would have definitely ended up on my favorites list. It is a gorgeous blush because it literally looks like you have a natural flush on your cheeks. But just because of the color, not any other reason. I love the finish of it, I like how it looks on the skin. Just because it's not my absolute favorite kind of color, I didn't choose it as one of my absolute favorites. So I'm going to take this also on the mini base brush and just apply it here onto my left cheek. Gorgeous. Look how beautiful that is. It just looks so natural on the skin. It's the type of blush that you can literally use every day and you will probably just not get tired of it if you are not super adventurous with your blush colors. I'm going to make things a little bit more complicated and actually dip into a powder blush because I want to test this other brush, which is the Classic Face, to apply my powder blush with. The shade I chose is Baby Love from Too Faced, which is like the closest match I could find to the Milk Makeup one. So let's take this brush and just apply a light dusting of Baby Love onto my cheeks. Yeah, this brush also feels like angels are kissing your face. Keep in mind this brush cannot be used with cream products, first of all because I don't think the shape of it is very convenient for that, and second of all because this is made out of goat hair only. It's like dyed and undyed hair. I'm going to use the classic face again to apply my highlighter. I have to say this is not my favorite type of brush to apply highlighter, just because I feel like it's a little bit too big and too fluffy, and I like to be a little bit more precise with where I apply my highlighter. But for the testing out purposes of this video, we are going to use this. And to test out this brush, I'm going to bust out my Pat McGrath Labs Murder Weapon, aka the Skin Fetish Sublime Skin Highlighter in the shade Champagne Gold, which probably some of you might be surprised that didn't end up in my absolute favorites. It was surpassed by the Skin Highlighting Trio, which is an older release from Pat McGrath, and I can't really tell you for sure what it is. I think it's the tone of this highlighter. I think what prevents me from falling in love with this highlighter is the undertone. It is just a little bit too cool toned and a little bit too silvery. It claims to be a champagne gold, but to me this is more of a bronzy rose kind of shade. So it does look very beautiful on the skin, very natural on the skin. You can build it up, you can apply it a bit more sheerly, but I personally prefer my highlighters to lean a little bit warmer, a little bit more peachy, and this is just a tad too cool for me. So I'm going to apply a light dusting of this. Okay. See what I mean? I don't know, it looks very pretty and it does look natural, but there is something a little bit too cooler leaning for me to be head over heels with this highlighter. I just expected to be much more wowed by this formula and the color, and I was not. Which is the reason why it didn't end up on my favorites list. I feel like for the price and for how hyped up this was to be something super special, I didn't end up feeling like it was so super special. I just expected something so much more. Now, moving on into the eyes, we are going to be dipping into the Pat McGrath Decadence palette. The reason this didn't end up on my absolute favorite list... Oh, I'm catching a whiff of the cocoa powder that's in here. Some of these palettes, some limited edition Decadence palettes, have cocoa powder worked into the formula, and when you open them, you catch a whiff of cocoa powder and it's just absolutely delightful. Anyway, so I don't really think of this palette ever as a complete palette that I can pull out and do complete looks with. For me this is more of a standout shade palette, which is the reason I don't really consider this to be one of my absolute favorite palettes. I am going to do a look today together with the red and the gold shade because I think they're absolutely perfect for Christmas. But because this is a palette of only metallic shades, I do need to pull out additional palettes in order to be able to do my crease and do the, especially the outer corner, if I want to stick into the more like neutral tones. Which is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to take out my Bronze Temptation palette from the holiday collection 2 years ago, and I'm going to apply this shade and a little bit of this shade in my outer corner and crease. And now we're going to get into the eye brushes that come with the Keyaki set, and the first one that I'm going to bust out is the Jumbo Blender. Now I have two concerns about this brush. First of all, it's the size of the handle. I've never really worked with an eye brush that has such a short handle, and I'm a little bit worried whether it's going to be a pleasant experience or not. Based on the face brushes, I didn't even notice that they had shorter handles. It was not a problem for me at all. I didn't even notice that they had a smaller size to them, like except for the foundation, where I feel like it just took a little bit longer probably with the mini base brush. I didn't have the impression with this brush that I was working with a smaller brush, not in terms of its size and not in terms of the length of the handle. Now when it comes to the eye brushes though, how you position your brush can make such a huge difference about how much pressure you apply on the eye and how you blend out eyeshadow. So I'm really curious how this is going to go. The second concern I have about this brush is that in very typical Sonia G style, a lot of her brushes have a very like dense bristles. So this brush as well, it has a lot of very densely packed bristles, but it's not necessarily a brush that has a lot of give, and it's not necessarily a brush that you're going to use for a lot of like transition blending out sort of work. But I am going to use it for this today because I'm curious how I'm going to like it. Especially because I have the type of eye shape that requires a transition shade. I cannot just get away with putting something on my lid and just going slightly in here because there is all this space here that also needs to be covered. So what I've seen other people do is use this brush like sideways in order to apply their transition shade. So I'm going to try that. I applied a little bit of that lighter brown shade and I'm going to start working it here into my crease. So far the shorter handle doesn't really bother me one bit, and if I don't apply too much pressure, this brush is actually working really well as a blender. This brush is doing a fantastic job and blending, and because of the shape you can turn it in so many different ways. You can put it to work right here into your crease, you can flip it like this so that it works here above your crease. You can also extend your eye shape by just flicking like this. It is a pretty wonderful brush, and I don't really mind that it has a shorter handle, although I have to say it does take some getting used to the sensation. I'm going to take this mini booster brush, which is the type of brush that would fit perfectly into your crease. It is also, again, a very dense brush, packed with a lot of bristles. It doesn't have too much give to it, and it is kind of like long and a little bit pinched here on top, so I think it should make a perfect brush for depositing very dark colors into the crease and blending them out together with the jumbo blender. So I'm going to take a little bit of that very dark brown from Bronze Temptation and just work it here into the outer corner. Now I want to go back into the jumbo blender and try to blend the edges of that dark brown out a little bit. Next I'm going to apply a little bit of glitter glue on my lids before I move into applying the lid shades. I'm going to take this gorgeous reddish bronzy duochrome, just using my finger, and I'm going to apply it on the outer part of my lids and a bit towards the center. And last but not least, I'm going to use the flat definer, which is the last brush in the Keyaki brush set, which looks like this. It's a very flat but very domed flat brush, which I think would be perfect for packing on color, especially onto your inner corner or onto your outer corner and then winging it out a little bit. But for today I'm going to dip this into Gold Standard and apply this into the inner portion of my eye and inner corner. And I'm just swirling my brush here in order to take this around my inner corners. Now I'm going to take this tiny guy, the flat definer, again and just apply the slightest bit of that dark brown matte shade and just take it here onto the very outer edge of my eye and connect it with my upper lash line. And I'm just going to deposit the color in this way, and I'm going to use the mini booster to blend it out. And last but not least, I am going to take this single shade from Pat McGrath in the shade Crimson Fire, which is also a purchase I have made this year, and you haven't really seen me use it. I've used this shade a couple of times off camera, and I don't really why I've never shown it on camera. It is a very beautiful, deeper, burgundy-leaning sort of red, and I'm going to apply this shade all over my lower lash line to connect with the deep brown. I feel like this look lacks the tiniest bit of glitter in order to be sheer perfection. So I am going to take out my iconic illumination quad. I'm going to take the flat definer from Sonia's set and take this gorgeous topper shade. And I am actually going to spritz my brush a little bit just so the glitter doesn't fly everywhere, because I already applied everything else on my face. And just apply this right here on the very center of the lid, just for some extra sparkle. On my lashes I'm also actually wearing another product that I like but didn't necessarily rock my world, and that is the Pat McGrath Labs Dark Star Mascara, which was released earlier this year. It's a fine mascara. It lengthens a little bit, it's super black, it gives a little bit of volume, but is it really rocking my world? Is it like 30 euros rocking my world? No, it's not. I still think the Kiko Extra Sculpt, which costs 7 euros in full price, is just as good of a mascara. To finish out the look on my lips, I am going to wear a lipstick to which I owe a public apology. And this is my Lip Divinyl from Pat McGrath in the shade Temptress, which I completely overlooked when I was gathering my favorites of the year to show you. The only reason I kind of forgot about it is because I used to wear it a lot when I first got it in the summer, right before we had to start wearing masks intensively everywhere in the Netherlands. And once we started wearing masks, because of the formula of this lipstick, it's a very creamy lipstick, a very shiny formula, I kind of like steered away from it because I was afraid it would smudge all over the mask. Other than that, I think this is an absolutely stunning formula. I love the color. It is a beautiful muted red. It's very nourishing, very comfortable, and as far as like creamy lipsticks go, this is probably one of the best formulas that I have ever tried. So this is my final look. I've been filming for about 3.5 days, and I think it is definitely time for me to wrap this video up. I just wanted to give you a few thoughts on the Keyaki brush set. I think it was clear from the demo part that I absolutely loved each and every single brush in this set. Not gonna lie, to me the star is definitely this mini base brush. It is stunning. I have never had a foundation brush apply foundation on my face so beautifully, and that might be because this is the first time that I've ever owned a Japanese face brush, but oh my goodness. This brush and I are going to have a long-lasting love affair. I think the rest of the brushes in this set are also incredibly nice and very versatile. I really did enjoy all the eye brushes. I didn't really feel like the shorter handles bother me too much. It is a different sensation when you hold it in your hand, because if you're someone like me who prefers to hold their brushes a little bit more towards the back, so you apply less pressure, especially when you're blending, you might feel like you're almost about to drop the brush, but I didn't really feel like it really bothered me that much. It was just a different sensation compared to holding, you know, a regular good old normal sized handle brush. Not to anyone's surprise, Sonia has once again done a fantastic job. So if you are looking into getting a Sonia G brush set into a slightly more affordable price range, because this brush set is $125 and it is her most affordable brush set. All of the others start at $150. So if you're looking into trying Sonia G brushes and you want to try both eye brushes and face brushes, I feel like this is kind of like the perfect entry into Sonia G brushes and her quality. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and the little mini reviews that I gave of the products that I didn't mention in my favorites, but I have still enjoyed over the course of the year. There are definitely more products that I just didn't have enough time to mention, but hopefully I will be able to mention them next year when we do my version of Shop My Stash. And with that, I'm going to leave you. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful celebration of Christmas, and we will see each other again soon for my yearly palette ranking video. I will see you then. Bye!